G'day everybody and welcome back to my Aussie gardening kitchen, garden edition. I just about stepped on a chicken. Anyway, this video is going to be looking at the worms. I'm going to feed the worms today, so I'll give you a look at that because I never really show you the worm farm. And we'll also look at some other things like the orchard. It's spring here, so we've got blossoms and fruit starting on all the fruit trees. Raspberry plants are popping up out of the ground, so we'll look at those. There's a whole bunch of other things we might have a look at while I'm at it. So if you don't mind, stick around, enjoy yourself, and hopefully you'll stick around to the end. Springtime, down under.
Down under.
I didn't really mean to say down under. That's so cheesy. Oh, yay. I've never shown you the worms before, so let's take off the covers. This is a part of a rice bag that I keep damp and lay on top. This paper is for them to eat, and I give them veggies as well. You can see all the beautiful worm castings. Look at that. Beautiful worm castings for the garden. But today I'm just going to feed them. I've had this worm colony here for, I reckon, 10 years at least. 10 years. I've never bought worms in the last decade, I'd say. So there's an absolute ton of them in here. I've got 3 layers. This is the feeding layer that's going to get changed soon. And you can see it is just full of worms. Daytime at the moment, so they're hiding down in the dark. So they're not going to be really liking being dug up like this to show you. Nice and cold, feels good. It's a nice warm day outside today, so it means the soil is staying nice and cool. It's not getting overheated. One of my kids works in the produce department at a supermarket. So he just brings home leftover salads, and if I don't have enough salad and stuff at home for them, we've always got this stuff here as backup. I've got paper here that's been soaking in water just in case I needed more. So what I'll actually do is I'll just pour a bit of water just over the top of it. What this does is it gives it a bit of a flushing, moistens their bedding, moistens the food and the paper. They really like it. I guess like us, the worms need a bit of a wash and they love moisture. Also, soaking the paper helps with the worms being able to eat the paper because they've got such tiny little mouths. It makes the paper nice and soft for them. I do have a shredder and I actually shred paper, but I haven't done that today. So there we go. That's all I do to feed the worms. They've got their food. They've got their paper to eat as well. Then I put this on top and then I give this just a little bit of moisture. Get that old piece of bag wet. That's going to retain the moisture in there. So there we have it. That is worm feeding done for the week. I just put a couple of layers of cloths and old bag like this just to regulate temperature and to keep the sun off the sides for temperature. Also keeping it a little bit dark inside too, so they can move around freely in the darkness. I leave the tap open all the time, and I let the water run out into the container, and then I actually chuck that away. I don't use it. I don't like the bacteria from old food and stuff going through into the water. I would never put this on my food plants, so I just pour it out onto the grass and get rid of it. I know people use it in their gardens. Good luck to them, but no. If I want a tea from worms, I'll actually use the castings and make a tea out of castings. So as you can see, this is all brand new growth from spring, or for spring. And I've got ones that have grown naturally in the soil after I've cut them down at ground level. There's a little baby just starting there. And these ones here, these are the ones that were in grow bags in my alfresco. I've brought them over because I'm going to go back to growing all my raspberries in the one place instead of having them everywhere. And there's another grow bag just over the back here. And that grow bag's got raspberries, and surprise, surprise, there's a few strawberries in there as well. What I will do is I'll probably take these out and plant them in once I bring in some new soil and refresh the soil. But for now, these guys are staying in the grow bags. The same situation here. I've got 2 grow bags that came from my entertaining area. But as you can see, this garden bed busted open and broke and is way overgrown. So I need to fix it. When I fix it, I'll take these guys out and replant them in the garden bed properly. But for now, they're going to grow in the grow bags. All of the raspberries that I'm growing are going to fruit on the 2nd year. So unfortunately for me, by cutting everything off to the ground, I'm going to have to wait for them all to grow this season and then hang out for the next year. And then next season, next spring and summer, I'll be able to get a whole bunch of raspberries fresh from the canes here. But this season, nada, nothing. Now, if you want, you can actually buy raspberries now, as well as blackberries that fruit on their first year growth. They're not very common, but they are out there. The raspberries, I used to have some here, but they died off. So now I've got all the varieties that are very common where they grow on the second year growth. If you want more information on growing raspberries, I've got a really cool video on my channel that you can check out. Do go back and have a look at it. It's got so many good comments. I've drawn diagrams about pruning, growing, feeding, watering, you name it. It's all there, so do go check that out. These are my succulents that have gone crazy. I had a few in a pot when we first built the house and moved in 5-6 years ago. And as you can see, they just went off. They don't get cut back. They don't get looked after. They get hit by frost, but they still come back. I'm a bit worried about getting in there. Not keen to get in there when there's snakes around, but that's what it is at the moment. And it just sits there and does its own thing. Ooh. So this is my friend. Hi, my friend. And he calls me all the time. I know it's a he because he chases all the girls and does the dances. Ooh. Hi, my friend. You hungry? He comes every day for food, like multiple times. If he hears me talking, him or his partner will come over and they'll go, ooh, ooh. Last year when he had babies, the babies learnt to come over when they got bigger and they did the same thing. Anyway, here we go, my friend. There we go, my friend. He's a crested pigeon, an Australian native bird. And obviously he's called crested because of the funky hairstyle he's got on the top of his head with the feathers. And he makes the most coolest sound when he flies. They've got something like 13 feathers in a row on one wing, and one of them shorter than the others. So they make like a whistling sound as they fly around. It's really cool. And there we go. This is his partner. Hi. She's a bit cautious of me, but she still comes. She gets close. And she'll call out for food too. I mean, I'm standing just here, almost within arm's reach. And yeah, they'll feed. They'll call me if they want their food. So I've got things like the planter here with strawberries in it and chives and lettuce, and there's parsley around the corner there, and I just spin it around every few days, give it a turn. That way everything gets even sunshine during the week, and that's really good for coming out and just grabbing things if you need them for a salad or chives for a garnish or something like that. I'm not sure what this is. This looks like sage. I used to have sage planted, but it looks too long for sage. So it must be some sort of other plant. If you think you know what it is, please let me know in the comments, because it doesn't smell like sage to me, but it must be something. And then you'll notice as we go across, I've got brassicas here that just have not fully grown yet. They should have been done by now, but I'll just leave them in and let them go. And then I've got spring onions, green onions as you call them in other countries, spread throughout. And they're all starting to flower and go to seed. So I'll collect the seed. But to be honest, I don't grow them from seed anymore, because we just cut the bottom off them when we cook with them. And I replant the bottoms and they regrow. Ones like these ones here, these ones have been cut and regrown like 3 or 4 times. Anyway, over the back here, I've got tea berries. They're a cross between a blackberry and a raspberry. And they're trained to grow up and go through this trellis system here. I've got more down here in another container, a grow bag that comes up, does the same thing. Looking forward to picking those. I've got salvias like this here and here against this trellis, and a few other places around here to attract the pollinators. Strawberries. This is my first strawberry hatch out of 2. And as you can see, the sun's really bad at the moment, but I have strawberries galore in grow bags and pots all in this section here. Every year, we grow so many strawberries, it's not funny. I've got this amount again, growing in another section of the yard over there. Sorry, the sun's just come out from behind the clouds and it's so bright. Sugar snap peas. I've got sugar snap peas growing up here. Cannot wait to stir fry sugar snap peas. I've got more growing in another section as well. There's irises growing in this pot here. They come up and they flower beautifully when the time's right. And just in front of that, we've got a black currant, beautiful black currant. Plenty of black currants every season. I've got a young blueberry here with another blueberry that had a really bad time over the last few months. It's hanging on. I'm trying to keep it going, help it survive is what I'm trying to say. I've got another blueberry in here that totally died off, but I've got this one stalk that still survived with growth. So you know what? I've got it. I'm just going to keep on growing it. It's in there amongst all these strawberries. Once we're finished with all those berries, we come across to where I grow my capsicums, chilies, and jalapenos. Now, I say capsicum. People in other countries call them peppers, like bell peppers. So I've got this guy here and this guy here, and I overwintered those in the greenhouse this winter, cut them right back, and they're going to grow back fine. They will grow back, believe it or not. They'll grow new shoots. They'll grow beautiful capsicums, bell peppers, and around those, I've got chili plants, plenty of chili plants planted. I don't know. There's more here with another salvia in the middle. So I've probably got about 9 or so chili plants just in this section here. Celery, something came in about 2 nights ago and just stripped all that celery of all its leaves there. But yeah, I like to have at least 1 or 2 celery growing out here. I love to have my celery growing out here close to the back door. Well, some of it anyway, I should say, because you can come and just snap off bits and pieces when you need them. And then the bulk of it grows in garden beds and other parts of the yard. More green onions. You can see these ones here. All of these. I used all the bottoms and replanted them. And look at that, they look fantastic. These are nice and young. Of course, there's strawberries interplanted with those. More strawberries again and strawberries again. That's a bay leaf, beautiful bay leaf growing there, which I really need to trim. Bird of paradise, flowered for the first time this year. Got a beautiful flower on my bird of paradise, and that's of course got strawberries growing in it. And there's actually garlic interplanted around here too. You can see here, that's actually garlic. All these things here, these are young garlic plants. Not doing too well. Garlic does not like crowds. Okay, I've just gotten down low because the sun is so bright from behind the clouds right now. But here we've got my lemongrass, peppermint beside that. Then I've got a rosemary here that I can just come and grab rosemary when I need it. And that's got parsley growing in amongst it. It's got garlic growing in there as well. I've got a chili plant growing down at the bottom, at the base of my curry plant, my curry tree. That's my curry tree there, as I'm trying to avoid the sun. And beautiful thyme. I've got 2 planters of thyme back there, and that stuff is just fantastic. I have my container of mint growing here, plus a container of parsley. There's another salvia in behind the parsley. That there is part of the salvia, and of course, that'll bring the bees. Another one of my propagated mulberries. That's doing really well in the pot here. Here's my bargain Kafir lime that I showed you guys a few months ago. As you can see, it's come back nicely. It's doing really well. Don't you just love the double leaves that they grow? Isn't that awesome? And speaking of the leaves, oh man, I cannot stop rubbing them and smelling them. Oh boy. Ah, the lime smell is incredible. So what you actually do is you roll up the leaves and slice them up and chop them up and put them in your cooking. Either cook with them or use them as a garnish. They're fantastic. Now, they will grow a lime, the actual lime fruit, but they're quite horrible and not many people will use them. The avocado tree is doing really well in the container. It's covered in buds that are just ready to pop into flower. Hopefully, a lot of those flowers will turn into fruit and we'll get some beautiful avocados. It's a Hass avocado, so it's self-pollinating. It would be good to have more than one because they do help each other out, but you can actually grow this variety by having just the one tree only. That's what we're doing here at the moment. It's looking a bit sad from the really hot day, but it's fine. And I need to get into the undergrowth there at the base and rip out all those weeds, as well as celery. I've got volunteer celery growing in there. They need to go. As you can see behind me, the mulberries are doing fantastic. I'm going to have so many mulberries this season. As you can see, I'm using bags on some of the smaller trees. That's going to stop the birds because the birds absolutely love them. The bigger tree that I pruned, you would have seen the video, well, some of you would have seen the video a couple of months ago where I pruned the tree right back to this beautiful level that it's at, very manageable. Well, it's now full of fruit, and that one's going to get its own bird netting, as well as the one that's over beside it. So they'll share a bird net between them. I'll tie it off at the bottom so nothing can get in up underneath, and that way there's a whole lot more mulberries for me. We grow a lot of rosemary, and we've got that one there, plus the one in the entertaining area, and then we've got this one over here. And the reason for that is that not only do we use it in cooking, but we love to put this into the chook pens, and then in the nesting boxes we'll put fresh rosemary. It smells great, and supposedly fresh herbs like rosemary will keep mites and bugs like that out of the chook pens, and it seems to work for me. So yeah, this one here was taken from a single cutting, as was the one in the entertaining area just back there, and they were taken from this one here. As you can see behind me, the raspberries and the grapes are doing fantastic. I pruned the grapes in winter, gave them a really nice cut back. I've made a video on that. It's not out yet, but what I will do is I'll get some updated footage with all this brand new growth, maybe wait a little bit longer until the actual grapes are growing, and then I'll put out that pruning video and show how I prune my grapes successfully in my backyard and get really good grapes every year. Now, the other side of that walkway is the blackberries, the 7-8 plants that I propagated. They're doing fantastic. They're growing really well. They'll be starting to flower soon, and of course those flowers will turn into blackberries. For those of you familiar with my archway, that's going this season. I'm getting rid of all of these arch pieces, plus the wire pieces to make another arch. Because what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to have the blackberries totally netted, just a great big net that goes up and over and down again on that side. And then with the grapes, I'm just going to bag the individual bunches of grapes this season. I had the whole archway netted and it was okay. It worked. It stopped the birds, but unfortunately, snakes found their way in. And there was one time where I was harvesting blackberries and I didn't know until I finished, when I looked back, that an eastern brown snake was in the bottom of the blackberries where I was moving. I'm so glad I didn't get bitten, because eastern browns are one of the deadliest snakes in the world. They're so bad. This is my new garden area that I'm working on. As you can see, I've just got a start where I've got some garden beds laid down, starting to get them prepped. I'm going to have some of these barrel ones here in between these two rectangles. This black stuff is going to go all the way across. I'm going to have grow bags going all the way down here with other plants growing in them, vegetables and fruits, of course. You can see in here some very sad looking celery, but that's because they were transplanted last night. They were volunteer celery that were actually growing over here in my garlic, and that was no good. Garlic doesn't like competition, so I dug them out, brought them over here, replanted them. Did not realize today was going to be a stinking hot day, so they really copped it in the heat. Now, I have kept them watered both last night and today. We'll see what happens. If they don't survive, so be it. Now, I've got a blackberry in a grow bag in there, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to leave it there, put the soil in the new garden bed, grow veggies in here. There's a melon back there that's growing. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to have this netting opened at the top, so the blackberries will actually grow up and have freedom to come and grow up. I thought it would be pretty cool to pick some blackberries and eat them as I'm working in the garden beds out here. It's all very much a work in progress. You can see I've got some basic soil from the backyard down the back. This is absolute rubbish. I'm using that as a base. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to dig in a lot of cow manure, and also I've got some beautiful other compost, and I've got some other garden soil that I bought in last year, and I'm going to mix those all up together, and that's pretty much what this garden bed here is made of. This is my other strawberry growing area that I was talking about earlier, and as you can see, there's a lot of strawberries that will be growing. And then I have more up here. I take babies, I take the runners, and I grow them in pots, and then they'll get transplanted into bigger grow bags or pots later on. But yep, it's going to be a pretty awesome strawberry season this season. In fact, you can see some runners all hanging there, and some there. What I would do is I'd bring over a pot, sit it on a couple of bricks, and then plant those into the pot. And then after maybe, say, a few weeks to a month, once the roots have established, I'll then cut them off and they'll be their own brand new plants in pots like these. So I've got onions. So the red onion's doing great in this garden bed here. And this is some of the garlic here that's growing, where I had to pick out the celery, more garlic. I've got sugar snap peas growing here, which are doing fine, just like the other ones. Look at that. I can't wait to stir fry these like the other ones. And of course, there's strawberries. Strawberries have come over and they've started growing. So let them go. Why not have them? And actually, you can see here, there's a volunteer celery just there. I'll pick that out because, as I said, the garlic doesn't like competition. And that's what all the other ones are. Other celery here. More celery here. Again, they were volunteers. And I've got leftover brassicas that still haven't grown fully. Just leaving them in there. I think it's cauliflower and cabbages. We'll see how we go. So it's all a bit of a mess at the moment and there's stuff all over the place, but I am hoping this is going to be my new growing area. I don't like it over there. The neighbours can see me, and with my agoraphobia and all the other mental health stuff I've got going on, I like this spot here because nobody can see me. I'm hidden by the forest and the orchard and the grapes and blackberries, hidden by the house. So yeah, I like this area here, and hopefully it's going to be a really successful growing area, and it's right next to the greenhouse. Let's go check that out next. I only got this about a week ago, and it's such a good idea. It's a 60-litre rubbish bin, and what I do is I fill it up with water. And then that is my water supply for the greenhouse. Now, I've already watered in here today. You can see I've got seedlings going on. There's different beans and melons and tomatoes and corn. The pineapples are going okay. More chilies and marigolds. I think that's peppermint and strawberries. And then, of course, the bananas. I really need, as I always say, to get in and divide the bananas into their own individual pots. Each one of these pots must have probably 4 or 5 banana plants in them. That's not good. I've got to fix that. And of course, there's more strawberries. Who can't get enough of strawberries? As you can see, this orange is doing really well. It's got lots of flowers and new growth coming up. I need to pick that orange. That's well overdue. I'll probably cut that branch off. Don't need that. I want to keep a nice shape to the tree. And then in this citrus row that I have, you see I've got another orange here. Again, I need to pick those fruit. I need to get those oranges off that tree, help it grow a bit better. New growth is just starting. I come across to this one here. I need to get those oranges off this tree too. I've been slack. And I really want to cut this tree back a bit and shape it a bit better and get it going. Delicious mandarins. Some of them are almost ready. I can't wait because I really want to get the fruit off and get this tree to grow properly and be more established. It's in the container. I've got all junk in the bottom there at the moment. It's had grass growing up through it, as you can see. So I've been trying to keep that old sheet in there to minimize some of the grass, but it's not working. I'm going to have to get in there and actually rip it out by hand and do it properly. The orchard over there is doing really well, and that's understandable because it is the start of spring, so blossoms are popping on the trees, fruit is forming from those blossoms. You've got cherries, little baby cherries forming out of little flowers. They look brilliant. The apricots have started to form and you can see them. They're well on their way to making their shape. And I need to get those covered soon because I don't want the fruit fly to get to them. The pears are just starting to form little baby fruits in the flowers. The peaches are growing into little baby fruits right now. The 2 apple trees have got flowers growing quite well, and it's a Granny Smith and a Pink Lady, so they'll cross-pollinate each other very well. So I've got a big job coming up where I need to get in there and bag all the trees, cover them in bags, cover them in netting, put individual grow bags on the peaches more than likely, and that's the way I'm going to stop the fruit fly this season. Oh, there's a plum, a Santa Rosa plum in there. That's doing well. Not many fruit, but I expected that because I gave it a really hard prune last summer because I wanted to cut down the size of the tree and shape the tree better. So I knew I was going to sacrifice a bit of fruit this season. Now, speaking of plums, I've got the 2 plums over here at my Grape and Blackberry walkway. The AOK plum and the Satsuma plum. They're both a purple plum, delicious plums. I've got those covered in an entire tree bag each, and that has done wonders this season. In the past, I've had trouble with sparrows nesting in those 2 trees, and they knock off all the baby fruit, and it really cut back the amount of fruit that I got in the last 2 seasons. This season, I've noticed so far, touch wood, that I've got a lot more fruit, little baby plums on both of the trees, and that has to be because I've covered those trees and stopped the birds from jumping around the branches and knocking all that baby fruit off. So fingers crossed, touch wood, I'm going to get some nice purple plums this season. There's a few things I haven't mentioned, such as the olive trees out the front. They're doing fine. They're twice the size of the house, and I'm looking at them now, there's probably 7 or 8 of them out in the front that line the driveway. And of course the passion fruit. I normally talk about the passion fruit, but I've done a lot of that lately. It's going well. I'm actually about to build a new structure for it, cementing in some posts and doing new wire and putting it on that. I'll get that recorded and I'll share that with you in the near future. If you stayed till the end, I really appreciate it. It helps me so much when people watch my videos all the way through, not just coming and saying hello and then disappearing. If you wouldn't mind, check out this playlist on the screen right now at some point when you have the time. I hope you enjoy some of that other gardening content that I have. Thank you so much for being here, and hopefully I'll see you in the next cooking or gardening video. Bye for now.